Good evening, everybody. It's 6 o'clock, and I can see that people are joining, but I think we might well just start anyway. My name's Dave Dixon. I'm the Corporate Engagement Manager for Bath North East Somerset Council, and one of the tasks that I and the team have is to run the area forum meetings and the parish liaison meetings. This is not a parish liaison meeting. It's not an area forum meeting either, but it's a general informal get together to allow us to have an update on the new bus services that are launching later this month, particularly in rural areas, and for you to have an opportunity to ask some questions. I'm delighted to say that Phil is here. I saw him. Yes, he's there in the middle of my screen. Phil Wright is Public Transport Programme Manager for the West of England Combined Authority. Is that right? Brilliant. So we're going to be recording this evening's meeting. So if you don't want to appear on the screen, then please turn off your cameras, because obviously once the recording is done, it does go onto the council's YouTube site and remarkably is viewed often. All the forums and different meetings are viewed often by lots and lots of other people after the actual meeting has taken place. So if you don't want to be part of that, then by all means, please do, turn off your camera. Can we all keep background noise to a minimum, please? So mute your microphones when you're not speaking, or otherwise, I do believe in this format, we have the ability to mute your microphone for you. There will be opportunities for questions at the end, Phil. Would that be the easiest for you? So if we allow Phil to deliver his presentation, if you've got any questions, then please just let me know, and just remind, have you got a presentation tonight or not, Phil? You have got a presentation. Yeah. So just as a reminder, obviously, if there is a presentation on, it's much more difficult to see everybody else's screen and to facilitate the actual meeting. So if we allow Phil to do his piece and do his presentation, and then we'll come back out of the screens, out of the presentation screen, and then I'll look at questions, and people, if you just obviously raise your hand as part of the symbol up above, and then I'll take you in the order that you come forward. So Phil, if you're happy, everybody else is happy. There's 22 of us here at the moment, and there's a few more joining. But I think, Phil, if you're ready to go, that would be absolutely lovely.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dave. And I'm strongly aware of the fact that I'm giving a presentation which will seem very familiar certainly to ward councillors who would have seen it a couple of weeks ago. There are some verbal updates to add on to it, but it will largely be a similar one. I will also show you something which I'm aware that some of you may have seen as well on this call, of what some of the emerging material looks like, but I will share that because it's still emerging. Work is still going in this space. So yeah, I will share that, and yeah, as Dave's done a very good introduction for me, thank you very much. And I know I have met quite a few of you, quite a few familiar faces on the screen already, but I will dive in and put the presentation on and get through that as efficiently as possible, so you do get the chance to ask questions. Bear with me 1 second. Can you see that? It's got a thumbs up? Yeah, brilliant. So I'll give a little bit of background to this in a minute, but I will go through these slides fairly efficiently, but I do want to make sure that I give you as much information as possible, so that hopefully it shapes some of the conversations you're going to have, because I do appreciate some of you won't have heard this information before, so I want to make sure I get this across appropriately. So this is, just to be clear, this is in line with the service changes that are going to be happening at the end of this month, July the 26th, and so obviously not long away now. There's a lot of work that's taken place to get us to this stage. So it's been a busy period, shall I say. So just to give some background to this, the reason why we're doing this July service change date. Some of you may have an awareness that normally our standard service change dates over the last few years have been April and September. So we had a specific reason to do this in July. Most of these services have been funded by government funding, which was due to come to an end in April 26. And we hadn't had confirmation of the funding from government of what that would look like. We received that on the 22nd of December 2025, which most of you will probably recognise was a lot of people had disappeared off for Christmas breaks by that point already. I remember it arriving in my inbox about 2 hours before I was about to log off for Christmas, which obviously created a challenge to be able to digest that and understand what the values were going to look like. To that stage, we'd only had some values confirmed to us through the media a couple of weeks before it, so we didn't get the formal confirmation of it till just before Christmas. A number of those services had contracts that were due to come to an end at the end of in early April 2026, and that created problems for not only us and bus users, but also the operators in the region. We had to get that funding confirmed. Those of you working in the political environment will know that you can't just get out and spend money. You have to get that processed and confirmed. We were very fortunate that there was a WECA committee at the end of January, so we managed to get ourselves on the agenda at short notice and got that funding confirmed at high level. However, anybody involved in service changes will know that good practice is you do 70 days to notify your operators and the public that you will be changing services. And we were already into that window by the time we got to WECA committee at the end of January. So because of that, the decision was made through our announced partnership, which is the way we work with key stakeholders and with general bus users and with the bus operators, as well as our unitary authority partners, that we would introduce a special service change window in July. So that would give us a little bit of breathing space to be able to inform those changes in a better way. In parallel to that, we did start to look at how we could improve and give ourselves a better network for our region. We'd started some technical work to look at how we could improve the bus network, and that work will have to continue and will continue. In parallel, we did go out and consulted the passengers on what were called the West Local Services in February and March this year. So we did get input from the bus users. We did go out and talk to some of the key community groups in the area. A lot of them are on this call at the moment. So we wanted to look at what the issues were and how we could shape those proposals. In April, just after Easter, we did go out to invite the bus operators to tender for these services. And I can see at least one of them on this call. In mid-May, we received those tenders back, and we revisited the conversations with those key stakeholders to ensure that we got those correct before we got to the stage where we could confirm the contracts. In early June, we got that approval in place, and in mid-June, we did go back to the operators and confirm those contracts. Anybody who's involved in bus operations, and I know Alan's on the call, who is a bus operator for many years, it's not as simple as here's your contract, get on and deliver your service. There's then conversations have to take place to make sure you've got the service correct. That work is still ongoing for some of the services, and it's not an ideal situation. It's not where we would like to be, but there are valid reasons for it, and we're fairly confident we're going to get the vast majority of those services in place for the 26th. One thing I should stress, and I always stress this as well, is once these services commence, that is not it. We will review those services, and if we can adjust them in line with the contract at an appropriate future service change date, we will do that. That's good practice as far as I'm concerned. You see what's worked, what's not worked, and you look at how you can adjust and improve them. So it's not the end of the story. I guess just for wider context, in April next year, there are other service changes coming to an end. We are considering our options for what that will look like. We have options to potentially extend contracts for that. We are now reviewing those services, and we're strongly aware of the fact that the commercial network has changed, demand has changed since those services were tendered in 2022 to commence in 2023. So there's further work that needs to take place, and we will be bringing those back later. And I guess just to make sure we give full context, because you can look in isolation of work that's happening here without understanding the wider work that's taking place. We are reviewing our enhanced partnership. That's the mechanism, like I say, where we work in partnership with our unitary authorities and our bus operators and other wider stakeholders. That is due to report later this year. We are already starting to look at how we strengthen that and work in a different way. Government guidance came out earlier this year about good practice and how we should improve our enhanced partnership. It is over 3 years old now, so it was the right time to do that. So there's more work to come on that. So watch this space on that one. That might be for a future meeting. We do want to make sure we deliver a collaborative network. We don't want to do it in isolation, which is in many ways how we've done it historically. So there's work taking place in how we ensure that we make sure that stakeholders are part of delivering that improved network. One thing I think is important when you look at the network is it will involve interchange. And I know this challenge back we get and you will get is that is not easy to do. So how do we do that? How do we improve that? We are working on integrated ticketing and how do we ensure that people can have the confidence to be able to buy a ticket and move between different services? And ultimately, how do you move between different modes as well? How do you get a ticket which will get you off rail? I mean, I'm probably talking many years in the future for that, but how do you get a ticket that could get you on the train station, onto a train service as well as on a bus service or onto e-scooter or electric bike or whatever you might want to do as well? We want to have a clear network that we understand and we own. And I say we're all of us on this call own it. I think it's fair to say that we haven't necessarily got that at the moment. We want to give that includes the commercial network as well as this network. We want to get that with a clear identity and build the confidence in people when they're using the network that they understand how it works. We also want to manage the performance on an ongoing basis to make sure that the network is adjusted. I talked about service changes earlier. This is really important. We need to understand it. We need to own it through the enhanced partnership so that we then adjust as necessary. It's got to be done in a data-driven way, but it's got to be done in a way that makes sure that stakeholders understand how the changes and why they're happening. So there's a lot of work still to be done in that space. And I guess most importantly, in some ways, is we want to give people like yourselves, but also your residents, a way to be able to give us comments and feedback. And how do we change that? I was on a workshop session this afternoon with my colleagues, and I was saying I think it's fair to say at the moment we react to complaints or issues that are given to us about why didn't this bus turn up or why does that bus do that. We want to get that into a place where people feel they can tell us in a coordinated way, which means that we will be able to get back to people to understand what changes are likely to happen or won't happen and the reason for why they won't happen as part of that discussion. So I thought it was helpful to just make sure that you understood that as well. That this isn't being done in isolation. This is part of a bigger piece of work that is going to change how we deliver buses in our region. So on that basis, I will move on to what the changes actually are. So these are the recommendations that happened, and these are the services that are going to be delivered. This first slide here is the network as has been and as is still at the moment. And I think the important things to look at here is these bus services have evolved quite often independently of each other. And they have ended up becoming impractical in places, certainly not struggling to make them sustainable financially. So the work that we've been doing, and as I set out earlier, are how we can improve those services. The commercial network's changed. How do we interact better with the commercial network? And where there is duplication, how can we improve coordination and focus on providing more useful and attractive journeys? This is an ongoing piece of work. This is not going to be done in isolation. This is not something that this is it forever. There will be work that will continue in that space. This is the first draft, as it were. So this is the first draft of what those services will look like. I will dive in. There are some more slides further on just to hasten to add. I may come back to this slide later because there's more technical detail about this specific services below. But I guess for your region, it is a change. There are things such as there is better connectivity now from east to west along the Baines rural area. So there are services now connecting from the Chew Valley through to the Cam Valley and then from the Chew Valley into Bristol, and from the Cam Valley into Bath, and then connections all the way along the Summer Valley, either into Bristol or into Bath as well. So much changes on that front. The frequencies have been improved or maintained, which is great news, and the hours of operation have largely been improved or maintained. So vast majority of the bus services have seen those improvements. Just to dive into them, and obviously this has got all of the services on here that are changing for the whole region, so I'll just focus on the ones that are relevant to the Baines area. So there will be a new service called the 100, which largely will replace what was the 2V and the X91. It will provide a service connecting between Bristol and Bath and Bristol via, I guess, the Cam Valley and the Chew Valley and into Bristol. It will be an hourly service operating from 6 in the morning till 7 at night. And it will largely replace, like I say, the X91 and the 2V. There's the 101, which will be running from Bishop Sutton into Radstock, so one of those east-west connections via Chew Magna and through to Midsummer Norton. That will be Monday to Saturday, every 90 minutes, 7 till 8. There's the 522, which largely remains as is. Most of you should know that one. It says here Brislington Park and Ride to Odddown Park and Ride. That's the section that we tendered for. It is going to be run by First, and First have confirmed that they will continue it as it has been to date, that they will pay for the commercial ends of the route to continue into both Bristol and Bath city centres from Brislington Park and Ride and Odddown Park and Ride. So that will continue largely as is. The other services that are relevant for your area, I'll move on to the next slide, which looks at what the 768, some of you will know the 768, it's been running as 2 round trips per day to date. And we're slightly extending the route, so it's going to be Riddlington to Timsbury and then into Bath, but it will be running every 120 minutes from 7 till 7, so an increased frequency, and it's Monday to Saturday. The X91 service will continue from Ubley via East Hoptree, Bishop Sutton through into Bristol. It will be on a slightly different route, certainly at the towards the close to the Bristol end, where it will loop through Dundry Village and then pick up elements of what was the P1 service before going back into Bristol. The Keynsham one is a classic example of something that's updated since we last met. The K2 is the service that will be running in Keynsham. There is further discussions taking place about parts of West Keynsham, and the Mayor is going out to meet Keynsham councillors shortly to look at options around that. We provided a lot of information to her around that. But that service will run every hour from 7 till 7. The only other services I think we will touch on, there's the 94 is probably relevant for the conversation here, which is Trowbridge to Bath, and that's contribution from us. Just to stress, that one won't be changing until the next service change date, which is actually the end of, it's usually September, but it's the end of August because of how the calendar falls. That one couldn't be resolved in time for this service change date. And then there are a raft of other ones which are relevant to you as well. So these are services that continue. So we're going to continue funding these. There's the Park and Ride service from Brislington into Bristol, which I know doesn't directly impact on you, but obviously does impact on your residents. Then there are the 3 Park and Ride services for Bath, which will continue funding till August next year, subject to review. We fund the later evening journeys for the 21, 31 and 41. We will continue to fund the 13 as a Sunday and evening service, but we will continue to do data analysis on that as well. The 19 does come into Bath, but obviously it loops mostly out into South Gloss, but we're going to continue funding that. And then the U4, it's funded by the university and during university times, but we are going to fund it outside of the university time, so it continues. The service will continue during what is university holiday times. So this time of year, basically, we'll continue to fund that. There are still ongoing discussions about other services. I should hasten to add. The one service that has disappeared is the P1. This was largely a North Somerset service, but obviously came into our patch and went into Bristol. The North Somerset did not have any further funding they could provide for this, and the cost per passenger journey made it very prohibitive from our perspective. I know further conversations are taking place with North Somerset colleagues and with some of the key stakeholders in that area. So there's further work to take place on that, and there may be options to look at alternative links in those areas. I guess the important thing from our perspective, and I will flick to another screen in a second just to show you some of the emerging materials. We do need to make sure we get these changes out there, and I'm saying this on the 14th of July, 12 days before the service change date, and we still haven't got all the confirmed timetables yet. That is not an ideal situation, and I don't want to beat about the bush that this is not a place we would want to be. We will get that information out as soon as we can. Some of it is starting to go live onto our website, but we want to make sure we coordinate that and tell people appropriately. In parallel of that, we are producing materials which we do want to share with you, with colleagues, to help us to get that material out into the communities to tell them about these new service change dates. The material is hopefully going to be attractive and easy to use for people, and will be used in a variety of different formats, such as online, to go in notice boards, to go in a variety of different publications. So that information is underway, but it's not ready yet to provide that. We also are planning to do and I'm aware of the fact that there have been some changes to who the provider is for Westlink in our area, and we have got some awareness campaigns going to be happening on that later. The team have been a bit stretched with the service changes recently, but there will be something coming out later this summer about Westlink and raising awareness of that as an alternative to where there isn't a bus service. That's my slides for that section. Bear with me 1 second. I will just close that down and put the other element on. Let me stop sharing that, and then I'll put the other designs on just to show you a flavour of what it looks like. Hopefully you can see that. This is a slightly old version. It's been updated since now, but I haven't got one in my inbox yet. The team are working on it. So this is the type of material we're looking to produce, which will have timetables attached to the back of them. And as I said, some of those timetables are, if not prepared yet, they are fairly hot off the press. So this is how we're going to try and tell people about these service changes and try and make them do it in a way that's informative and hopefully easy for people to understand, and attractive as well. The intention is we get this out into places that are important to you, such as I guess community centres, churches, pubs, places where people will see it, and this is where I guess we will provide this, and hopefully you can tell us about where those locations may be. But I think it'd be really helpful for us to be able to do this and help you. So yeah, that's I'll stop sharing that, and maybe I don't really want me to go back to the maps, or whether you just want to deal with questions now. I'm fairly happy to be steered a bit by.
Yeah, Phil, thank you ever so much for this. Very comprehensive and very detailed. We've got a large number of people here tonight, so it's obviously a topic that's much interest. And the first hand is Helen Jenkins. Oh, it's on mute.
Just there, so there we are. Okay. Hi. Thank you for this.
Hello,
There's a bit more. Hi, everybody. And thank you for this. There's a bit more information this time round. We are very concerned in the Porton area. We've got our 522, which we're pleased with. We've got the 172, which is good. But really, we're very concerned about the estates. Now, we've got our 101. It replaces the 2B. The 100 doesn't replace the 2B, by the way. I want to point that out. But we did need to be consulted Now, the 2V was managed. I'm here in the parish council office. I am a parish councillor, and I have Grant Johnson here, who's also base councillor and parish councillor, he's chair of our parish council. So, so looking at the fact that we were heavily involved in setting up the 2V, but there wasn't enough consultation. So the first thing I'm very pleased to hear about is there is going to be further consultation, and that, you know, you are setting up stakeholders. So that's the first point I want to make. That's good to hear. We weren't consulted in any way, and I think that is lacking in some of the information that went into the 101 route. The other thing I would say is that the Porton area is linked in with Chew Valley, and I'm sorry to focus so much on Porton, but that's my brief. And that we can't really understand why we are linked in with Chew Valley. We were linked in with the 2V with Bath and the O'Dan Park and Ride. So we're wondering, why has that actually happened? We are pleased that the 101 is going around most of our estates. It does leave out one section, and I will be campaigning about this. And hopefully when you review the route, you might bear this in mind, the Ham Lane, Britain's Hill area. So just two questions. One is, or one statement about how important it is to consult. But secondly, we can't quite understand the new route that we've been given a Porton with the 101. So thank you. Sorry, it's rambling on a bit, but you made a point. Thanks.
Thank you.
Do you want to respond to that one, Dave? Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I guess just to go back to the consultation thing, we know we need to get better. So, you know, we will watch this space. There will be something coming out on that. I'm committed to making sure we improve how we communicate. So we will do that. The 101 was based on surveys we did actually in the data showing that there was connectivity. People needed to get from the Chew Valley to the Cam Valley, to Midsummer Norton, really, was where the demand was. We're going to have to review it. We're going to have to review it based on the data that we see. So it's always a difficult one, isn't it, when you're putting in new services in like this, that you do it based on data and information you've got to hand. Whether that's the correct data information is a different matter. So we'll review it, and I think that's the only way we can do it. We think we've done the right thing, but we'll see how it pans out over the next few months.
That's great. A quick supplementary. When are you going to start reviewing?
The service ongoing. It will be ongoing. That will be something as I said right at the start. The point of how we are going to work going forward is we're going to review our services on a regular basis. It's not a case of we put the services live and then we leave them to it. It will be reviewing, adjusting, tweaking. That's what we should be doing. A healthy environment is to constantly review our services and to make sure that they're doing the right thing, or they're doing the right thing for the right people, and getting the feedback from people as well into whether they're doing the right thing as well. There will be that's not going to magically appear overnight, but that will be something we'll be working over the next few months.
Thank you. That's really good to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you. Next is Councillor Sam Ross. Sam.
Hi there. Hi, Phil. It's just a quick question really about the 101. The timetables seem to have been released like quite some time back, like people were posting it on Facebook groups. And I've noticed that Avos has now been doing a good job of posting it around. So that is actually already out there and people are like looking at that one. So that is actually raising questions about the 100 route, where people are saying, well, why is that released whilst it isn't? But I just wanted a query about that one, because I thought it was a bit bizarre that it was posted by some random individual across all the Facebook groups rather than coming direct from WECA, which I would have kind of expected, and we still haven't had that ourselves direct as councillors. But also on the bus timetable that's actually listed, obviously it lists key stops, but I just wanted to make sure that it would be available for any stops along that route and not just the ones selected, because that is a question that residents are concerned about, that it might be at one end of a village but not at the other, and all that kind of stuff. So if you can clarify that, that'd be brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, we've been working very hard with our with Bain's colleagues, obviously the Highway Authority, so to make sure we get the stopping arrangements right. There's still further work to do in this space. There are some new routes here. There are some of the bus stops that were intended to be served are quite old nowadays. So there's further work that needs to take place on that front. So we think we've got it right, but again, that'll have to be reviewed, and hopefully some of the stops upgraded at the same time as we're doing that work. As far as the timetables going out into the public domain, Alan's actually on the. Sorry, Alan, I don't want to grass you up. Alan from ABUS is on it. I think from our perspective, I understand why Alan may have done that, and I'm not sure we've got the timetable confirmed yet, Alan.
To be fair,
sorry. It has been accepted, paid for. The registration's paid for, and it has been accepted. And I'm presuming that then is there. We had a meeting with Baines Highways this morning about Magna, and a discussion about Porton, and I think they're resolved as well. I would say to you that it's being operated by a local company. It's actually being operated for me by Centurion, who have bought £400,000 worth of new minibuses for the service. The first one was delivered on Friday. Hopefully the next one was delivered today, but I haven't heard yet, so I'm not sure. And then a third one, so we've got a spare, will be delivered next week, I understand. And they're fully air conditioned, low floor, disabled access, everything that you could hope for. We do intend to be the best operator you've had. We were the best operator in the Chew Valley for years, and we intend to get back to being the best operator in the Chew Valley again. Thanks, Phil.
Thanks,
I just want to come back to my actual question. It wasn't Alan that posted it, I have to say. Well, he might have posted the one in the last day or so, but the original timetable was actually posted about 2 weeks ago on all the Facebook groups by an individual, not by a bus company. They may have been associated with the bus company, but I didn't recognise the name, but they posted it around all of the local Facebook groups. I just felt that was slightly inappropriate when I would have expected that to come direct from WECA first. But also, you haven't actually answered the question. The question I was asking was, you've got a timetable with obviously some stops on it, but my answer is, if one of those stops if somebody has a bus stop near them that is on that route that is not written on that timetable, will people be able to flag the bus down to get on it? Because I think that is what the question that residents are asking. It's not about whether the bus stop's looking a bit tired and need upgrading. People know where the bus stops are. They just need to know that if they're getting on at Station Road, that one's listed on the timetable. If they get on at Warwick Gardens, is that one going to be acceptable as well? That's the question that they're asking.
Alan's nodding, and Alan probably knows better than I do. So,
yeah, it will stop at all recognised stops, and subject to arguments with everybody, I would like the drivers to stop at anybody who actually wants to get on, because different to the other tenders, 101 is a net cost tender where we keep the revenue, and therefore it is of more importance to me to get the revenue, because the revenue is the only bit I keep. The rest gets paid to the Centurion for operating it, and my bit of the funding is what is taken on the bus, and that is why we started to publicise it a bit. Originally, a railway forum produced a timetable, and we don't know who it was. And then John Hitchens, who you've mentioned, is a associate of, for want of a better word, an associate of mine who produced some of the stuff, and that is where it got a bit confused. It's just that John Hitchens is better on the computer than I am, and I can't post things, so I let him post them, to be honest.
Brilliant. Sam, has that answered your question? Yeah, brilliant. Next in line, Councillor David Harding. David.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. What buses are stopping at the Chew Valley School, and will the stops be outside or inside the school?
I'll have to come back to you about the exact stopping arrangements for the Chew Valley School. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what they are.
Okay.
I know
because
yeah, sorry.
Because there are some stops there just need a little bit of upgrade from Baines, so that the bus doesn't have to go into the school, because if it has to go into the school, then no one can get on or off it except school children and people who work for the school. So clearly that's an issue for residents around there. That's all. And also it'll slow the bus down if it has to go into the school.
Yeah, can I add that one to yeah, I know discussions around exact stopping arrangements in that area. I'm not sure the school the school was necessarily one of the ones that was on the list, but I will double check that one.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Councillor Harding. Dawn Drury.
Yeah, hi Phil. Can you just clarify when you said that the mayor will be meeting with Keynsham councillors to sort out the K2 service and possibly serving the west of Keynsham? When you say with councillors, Keynsham councillors, do you mean the 6 Keynsham ward councillors, which are Baines councillors, or do you mean Keynsham town councillors as well? Because this is where we're getting mixed meetings where the ward councillors are meeting and the information is not always getting back to town council and vice versa. So I just need to know who's meeting with the mayor.
I'll clarify that one for you, Dawn. I was just told Keynsham councillors, so I'll have to confirm which ones.
Okay, thank you, Dawn.
Thank you.
Martin Burton.
Yeah, I suppose it's just to follow up on that. We bearing in mind the timetable comes on the 26th of July. Does that mean, I mean, we've had a conversation already, Phil. I mean, when you know our feelings about how the whole process has been handled, we're not really unhappy about it. But you've got 12 days, and is it likely that the changes will come in before that date? Can you clarify that? And if they do, it's going to be total confusion, because they could be brought in and then, you know, that you could restore the service, and it would make sense really just to keep the service going until the final decision's been made, if that's possible. Because what we don't, I mean, people, as far as people are concerned, the K1 is continuing because that's what's been put out, and the people are saying, well, it's good it's been retained because that looks like that's how they've interpreted publicity. So it'd be good if you can say, will it on the 26th? What will happen on the 26th, or will decisions be made before that?
I think the decision will be made when, I mean, after the mayor comes and talks to the councillors, whoever they may be. So that we're still in the grey area on that one. So I will clarify exactly which councillors are being talked to, when exactly that is, and I will understand what the timescale is for when that meeting takes place and what we can do in the short term to make whatever comes out of that meeting.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Brilliant. Councillor Jackson, Eleanor. Oh, has Eleanor just taken herself off the screen? I know she has, hasn't she? Right, we'll wait for Eleanor. We'll wait for Eleanor. You there?
I was muted. This is most unacceptable. Why have you muted me? And why has there been so? I would repeat exactly what Councillor Hardman and I think Councillor Johnson said. Why was there so little, if any, consultation about the changes to the 2V, which is now going to cut out an area of great social deprivation, Curo housing, and generally disabled people living in sheltered bungalows on the new route? That's the first question. Why is it that the poorest of the poor are the ones who are most affected by the changes? That's question number one. Question number two, the 522, which route is it going to be? The present situation is quite intolerable. My residents have to go down the A367 to the former Prince of Wales pub, cross the Peasdown bypass, and then catch the 175. Previously, on the original 522 route, it went to the Sulis Hospital. And I don't understand why the changes and why the Soma Valley residents should be so disadvantaged compared with Bath residents. And that's the question that Westfield Parish Council would like to ask too. And, you know, I would plead for parish councils to be consulted. They know the ground much better than anybody else, and they have to are the first line to get complaints. the Hollies in Midsummer Norton, the officers there didn't know about these changes till I went in and happened to tell them. They were busy handing out the leaflets for the existing routes, which they'd finally managed to get. And the question is, are you aware that 20% of the residents of this area do not have access to the internet? They just can't look up things. And, you know, another question I've got is, why does the 173 and sometimes the 172 go straight up the hill from Bath to Westfield and leave out the Radstock stops altogether? They just don't come into Radstock, and this is quite unacceptable. Anyway, my main gripe is about the services to the RUH hospital. And I was hoping that you would restore what used to run as the 82, which wasn't ideal. I'd like a much faster service. So that should keep you going. 5 questions.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Phil?
Yeah, I've got a lot there, I think. So I know I talked to you previously, Eleanor, about the Porton estates. So I'm going to park that one into the realms of we'll review that. We can't change it now for this service change day, but we'll review based on data about what that might look like going forward. Consultation, I think, you know, I hopefully I've covered that one off. We know we need to get better on it. We will get better on it. But you know, we're hearing that. There was something there. I know the 522 and the Sulis hospital.
And the hospital, the Sulis hospital.
Yeah.
To expect people who are ill to walk from Braesdown Road right the way to the hospital is, well, I can't do it. You know, is hitting a lot of vulnerable people who are having to take a taxi, which they can barely afford to pay for, the taxi drivers tell me.
So there's further meetings taking place this week around the access to the Sulis hospital, and there'll be further work to be done in this space. So bear with us. We know it's an issue, and we're working on options for it. RUH. Again, I think at the moment there isn't a service that's directly, but we will be looking at that as part of the levy supported services for next year or the year after.
I mean, it's got even worse. You've taken off the number 3. I mean, and so it's now only the 4 from the Park and Ride that goes through Bath to the RUH. And it takes about half an hour to do that too.
There's a lot of work we need to do to look at. I think some of those may be commercial services. There's a lot of work we need to do to look at that network. How do we get the network right so we can have these conversations with First when they services are changed or removed. There's more space to be done in this. I can't give you a quick answer on that one, I'm afraid.
Okay, thank you, Phil. I've got Alison King next.
Hi, yeah, I wanted to ask about the 768, the Rithington via Radstock. Has there been any discussion with the school about enabling kids to get up from Radstock to Rithington School in time for the school starting and vice versa when school finishes? Because currently there is no bus that gets them to school on time going Midsummer Norton Radstock direction up to Rithington. And so kids are being given special dispensation to be late because there is no bus that gets them to school on time. So if that's going to be more frequent, this is a key thing we'd really, really like to see, is those kids being able to get to school.
Yeah, the timetable now is extended hours for the 768. So I don't know the exact timetable off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure that it was set up on the basis it could get children to school. So watch this space. We'll hopefully get that timetable information over in the next week or so at the latest.
Would be amazing, especially because then we could get some messaging out before September when obviously they're all back.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Alison. Councillor Lavinia.
Oh, hello, Phil. Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm Councillor Lavinia Corrick, and I am the councillor for Rithington Radstock. I appreciate that you've extended the service for the 768, but I would like to endorse what both Councillor Jackson and the previous speaker said about the connectivity of services generally, I'm really very unhappy. We have been trying to actually have conversations with WECA for months, if not years, about the services that support Radstock residents, and are just getting no feedback. As other councillors have said, we know our patch, we know what people require. The data for the 768 at the moment, which has only been 2 services, cannot be very strong data anyway. And also the length of that journey, which is an hour and a half, means that people who need to get into Bath for work, which is one of the aspects of the Baines transport strategy, just simply, spend an hour and a half, morning and evening, on top of their working day. And of course, it wasn't suitable up until recently. And the service up until recently for the 768 meant that you had a turnaround time of about an hour. What we're trying to do in Radstock is to connect Radstock Centre with the outskirts. Now, Riddlington is a start, but there are other areas like Clandown and Hayden, and they're not supported at all. And you've got to be very fit in order to be able to do the hills around Radstock. They're very steep and they are crying out for a bus service. And we would love to engage with you about what we can do to get those sorts of services in place in order to create the connectivity within the region from the Somer Valley into Bath and Bristol, and indeed into the Chew Valleys as well. So we need to be looking at this strategically. And my query to you is, please do come and talk to us. And I think you will find it's worth your while, because you won't be going off in directions which are unproductive.
Yeah,
it's a good point. And one thing, can I just, it's useful for all of you. I think I mentioned at the start of the meeting, I'm hopefully going to have the first thoughts on what a bus network should look like. We've never had one that's set for the region, that is both commercial and supported services. And I'm really keen on us having something which we can come back to discuss with you. Here's a draft, rather than here's a it's done. I bring a draft back for discussion, and I think that might be it. Might be this type of forum. I can bring that type of thing back to you to give a first thought and get some input and feedback.
We'd be delighted to engage with you on that. Thank you very much, Phil.
Can you bear with us? Bear with us. Give us. I'm hoping. I keep saying 2 to 3 months to get this ready, but if you can bear with us till the autumn, then hopefully I'll be able to have something I can share with you.
I do appreciate that, and may I add my voice to the query from the previous speaker about school children, because some of them really do struggle to get to school on time. In a safe way, I might add, because some of the crossing points are very tricky for school children.
Thank you, Councillor. Who's next? Jackie Head.
Hi. I've got lots of questions I could ask, but I'm going to limit myself to 2. I'm just wondering when we will know about the timetable for the X91, and in particular, I noticed when you were showing the other services, you said what the frequency would be, but we haven't been told that for the X91. And as I understand it, because of the rerouting of the Chew Magna stop, that's adding time to the journey, and I want to feel confident that you are timing the journey into Bristol so that it still arrives in Bristol at the key marker times, because all the research my group did set up those times, and all that information set up the specific times for commuters, for instance, going into Bristol. If that's going to be adjusted because of the going in and out of Chew Magna, it's really important that the bus starts earlier in the day in order to allow that to get there on time. It's not just commuters, it's also students going to study, etc. So that's one question, is about the X91 timetable. When are we going to know it, and has it considered keeping the same end times? And the second question is, when are you going to have information on bus stops?
So the X91 timetable is in the realms of all the other timetables. I've just looked at the spreadsheet I've got with the latest on it, and it said it was due to be confirmed by close of play today. So hopefully we'll have more information on that not too distant future. I know the issue and the concern you had, Jackie, with that connectivity. I understand it was trial ran at the end of last week, so the timetable was going to be tweaked based on that, but not a radical change. So it's just tweaking based on live stopping with it. So the timetable, we'll hopefully have that sooner rather than later to be able to put it into the public domain so that you can start to see it. Was there something else on it? I can't remember whether there was anything else there.
When will it be on bus stops?
So
In the
that might be
past,
later.
our group has gone round putting it up on bus stops because it wasn't going to be there for the start of services. We'd quite like to know whether we have to be doing that this time.
I will. It will be good if we can get some comms out to you before that date to say this is when it's going to be ready, even if it's not going to be ready when. So I'll ideally it will be ready, but I'll try and make sure we get something out to you next week.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Phil. Back to Sam, Councillor Ross.
Sorry, just one more question. It was about the kids on buses. I've had quite a number of people in Clutton coming up to me recently asking about trying to get to Midsummer Norton to get to school there. And it's mainly those kids that have now reached 16. So they no longer have automatic access to the school bus. So they really do need to rely on buses to get there. And currently the 172, because of the cuts that haven't been in the year, the first one basically passes through Clutton at 1 minute to 9, which is clearly not an appropriate time for kids to get to school with Midsummer Norton. And I noticed the 101, there's one that leaves about 7 o'clock in the morning, which might get them there at 8 o'clock or 7:30 for 8, which obviously is way too early. And then the next one is about 5 to 9. So there clearly isn't a working bus service for the kids that live along the A37, in particular my wards. I'm thinking about because I get residents' complaints from there of how they get there. I mean, it's an ongoing distressing thing. I find that we kind of expect 16-year-olds to grow wings and fly to school suddenly, and they can't get on a school bus. I just feel like all this does is pushes them into learning to drive when they reach 17, and it basically doesn't sort of encourage kids to get on the bus. So I think that's probably something in your timetabling you probably need to consider, whether that's a review. But I feel like this is going to let a lot of those new cohort of sixth formers down when they're trying to get to school in September, because they actually might be able to get a bus to get there.
Can you do me a favour, Sam, and just let me know if there's anything specifically we can do on that in the short term? I can't tell you the timetable off the top of my head exactly what that timetable is for that at the moment, and whether that will happen. It might be something that we can look at.
Okay.
I mean, the timetable currently is 7:27, getting in at Midsummer Norton at 7:54, or the next one is lost my place on here, or 8:57, which gets into Midsummer Norton at 9:26. That's getting to the library. So obviously these are, one's way too early, one's way too late. There needs to be something in the middle, and that's the same with the 172. When it was cut, the early services were taken out that come to Bristol, so the earliest bus is 8:59, which is an inappropriate time for kids to get to school. So they literally have no buses. This hasn't resolved that issue. So I know that when this bus timetable obviously becomes more widely well known, those same residents will have real issues with their kids trying to get to school, especially if they're trying to drive to Bristol to get to work and they're having to drive in the opposite direction to now drop their kids off because there is no other way for them to get there. So yeah, maybe, and I think I need to have a conversation with Amy and Phil about Clutton and Chelwood as well. You'll love that one. Anyway,
happy to have a conversation, Sam,
Yeah.
and I think I've previously offered. I'm happy to come out and visit you as well.
So. Perfect. Yeah,
Okay.
no problem. Maybe in August.
Brilliant. Elaine Workman. Elaine, I know I can see that you put some stuff in the chat, and I can see that Alan Peters has answered some of that stuff in the chat. But if you want to just ask your question for Phil, that would be lovely.
Yeah. So first of all, to Sam Ross, These buses don't serve Chew Valley School either, based on the unofficial timetable that we've seen leaked onto the websites for the 101. You know, again, they'd have to catch the 7 a.m. bus to get to school on time, and or, you know, incredibly early, and they won't be able to leave until 4:45 in the evening. So that's brilliant. But maybe the 100 also serves, I don't know. My question is about the 100 and safety, because it says that the 100 serves Bishop Sutton. From what I can see on the map, it is still dropping down into Bon Hill Road from coming from Chelwood. Bon Hill Road is completely unsuitable. The stop at the bottom of that road, there's no stop on one side of the road. So you're facing, when you're traveling towards Bristol, you have no pavement next to the stop, and opposite it is a tiny little bit of road. So it would be almost endangering human health by using that stop. Is it planned for that to come into the village, to serve Bath and Bristol? And my other question, if I may be allowed to ask, is just to confirm the stopping arrangements for Chew Magna, for any bus that goes into Chew Magna.
The question about the 101, I think the answer is no. And I know the stops have been approved by Baines.
No, the 101 isn't the problem. 101 goes through the village, so that's not a problem.
Sorry, I meant the previous. The previous
100.
one.
Oh, sorry, the 100. But it's the 100 that the Bath to Bristol one that doesn't go into, but that doesn't go into Bishop Sutton.
Yeah. So that stop's been approved by Baines officers. I don't know off the top of my head, Elaine, what it is. So let me just take that one away. Bon Hill.
Okay. Yeah, it's we have raised it to you before, Phil, as well. That's just dangerous. We had a fatality in the Chew Valley last night through car traffic, and I wouldn't want to have the same in the bus stop.
The stop arrangements in Chew are as confirmed as can be now, and there's a stop. There's a stop at the. I'm trying to get this right geography-wise. At the west end of the village, and then there's a stop that will be outside the Pelican Pub, with a turnaround in the fire station for services that are going back again and up into Bristol.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Brilliant.
So is that Broadcroft then? Sorry, it's Broadcroft and the Pelican.
Yes. We're trying to put a better stop in, and I know Alan was out meeting on site about putting other stops in near the Pelican Pub earlier today. So the work is continue to improve that arrangement as well, but there is an arrangement in place.
Okay. Bill, Councillor Bitterson's been very patient and has put the same question in twice, and so I was going to go to the chat at the end, and we're almost at the end now. So Councillor Bitterson's asking, can you let us know please when the visits to passengers of the K1 service took place?
Yeah, I don't know the exact date off the top of my head, but it's one of those we did in late February, early March. I can find the exact date for it. So when we did the passenger service,
Okay, brilliant. We're almost there, 2 minutes. Phil, I'd just like to say a very big thank you on behalf of everybody that's turned up tonight. And there's been a big turnout tonight, which is indicative of the fact that there's a lot of information to share. And obviously this will be recorded, and you will get an opportunity on the council's YouTube channel to go back and listen to it again if you want to, because there's an awful lot of information I'm conscious that has been shunted backwards and forwards. I've just got one very final thing, obviously with my Bath and North East Somerset Council hat on. And as regards supporting parish and town councils, a lot of this is about information sharing. We want as many people as possible to be using these buses. Anything that the parish and town councils and Bath and North East Somerset Council can do from its comms and marketing perspective to assist you in doing that, then please by all means let us know, and if we can facilitate other additional information for sharing, because it's the parish and town councils on the ground are going to be the ones that are going to get their people onto those buses, and we need not been awful bums on seats to keep those buses going.
Yeah, I agree entirely, and ideally we'd have got this information out sooner rather than now. But we will get information out, and we will ask you to help us to do that and disseminate that information. And I do appreciate it when you do that. So we will make sure we provide that information as quickly as we possibly can. Okay.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you. You had a whole load of questions tonight. Some of them, like I said, very detailed, some information to take away, some more information to share. If anybody else has got anything that they think about, then just email it in to myself or Alison or Mark, and we will make sure that Phil gets that information going forward. Thank you ever so much. Lovely warm evening. I do hope you can go out and enjoy a bit more of the sunshine before it disappears. And thank you very much for your attendance.
Thank you very much. Bye.